What is your breaking point? I want you to seriously look at our gaming setup right now and ask yourself, at what dollar amount do you just tap out and find a new hobby? Because the era of affordable bang for your buck gaming is officially on life support. And the people pulling the plug are currently fighting each other on X from their mega yachts. And I mean that literally, not figuratively. We're talking actual $500 million mega yachts equipped with submarine garages and indoor basketball courts. Welcome back to Starflag Media Gaming. This is news for gamers who grew up when games were actually games. And today we have to talk about the absolute circus that the hardware market has become. Over the last 48 hours, or man, it felt like years, we've seen the starting price of things like the Steam Deck skyrocket to an eye-watering $790. We've got credible leaks pointing to the upcoming Steam Machine launching at over $1,000. And right in the middle of this pricing apocalypse, Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney decided this was the perfect time to publicly dunk on Valve's Gabe Newell, which went about exactly as well as you'd expect for a guy who just laid off 1,000 people. It's a billionaire mud fight, and somehow the only people losing is you, the consumer. If you want the actual truth behind the corporate PR and the spin, hit that subscribe button, hype the video. Today we're breaking down the AI RAM shortage, the death of cheap hardware, the hypocrisy of the industry, biggest CEO, and why the next generation of consoles might price half of us out of the market entirely. Let's get into it. First, let's start with the drama, because honestly, you really cannot make this stuff up. Valve is a famously, let's say, lean company. They operate with an incredibly small headcount relative to their massive footprint. And they are estimated to make roughly $50 million in profit per employee. But you know they're not paying that, right, guys? This is an absurd, almost unfathomable metric of profitability in the tech sector. But this week, they had to drop a bombshell on the PC community. Steam Deck prices, as we know, are going up. And they are going up by $20 to account for shipping alone. They are going up by $100 and more. The most accessible entry point into PC gaming, the device that finally bridged the gap between console, handhelds, convenience, and PC freedom, just became a luxury overnight. When your biggest rival slips up on a banana peel, you take a shot. Enter Tim Sweeney, the head of Epic Games, the mastermind behind Fortnite, and the guy who has been trying to take down Steam's storefront monopoly for years. By the way, Epic storefront, not that bad. Not that bad. Sweeney took to X and posted what has to be one of the most passive-aggressive, dripping with sarcasm tweets in gaming history. Sweeney writes, "Everyone being too harsh here. There has been a significant rise in the cost of components. That Steam customer spending ultimately funds. And economic trends have created severe disruptions in the component part supply chain for mega yachts." Ouch. He is, of course, taking a direct shot at Gabe Newell's infamous vessel, the Leviathan. If you haven't been keeping up with Forbes and Fortune magazine, let's be honest. We're gamers. We aren't exactly subscribing to Yachting Monthly. Gabe has been flaunting a $500 million super yacht. This thing is floating in the sea as a fortress of excess. It's got a basketball court, it has a submarine garage, and naturally, because it's Gabe Newell, it features a fully equipped PC gaming cafe inside. And guess what? None of it is SteamOS. Now, Sweeney isn't wrong that showing off a $500 million boat while jacking up the price of the Steam Deck entry point to $790 is a fundamentally obscene look. The optics don't look good. Honestly, they are objectively terrible. It's basically the Marie Antoinette telling the peasants to eat cake, except the cake is a handheld running on Proton 11. But Sweeney completely forgot the cardinal rule of the internet. Those who live in a glass Fortnite house shouldn't throw stones. The community immediately turned the turds back on Epic Games. Within minutes, the replies under his tweet were flooded with people pointing out the massive 1,000 pound elephant in the room. One user fired back with the ultimate reality check. Hey, Tim, when was the last time Valve laid off their employees? Oh, yeah, never. So you have Tim Sweeney sitting on his own mountain of Fortnite cash, having just fired 1,000 people because of his own costly legal battle, trying to take the moral high ground against Gabe Newell's Yacht. The corporate hypocrisy between the both is absolute at its finest. I guess the moral of this story here is that CEOs are not your friend, guys. It's a cathartic way to watch them fight each other in the mud. But neither of them is losing in a single second of sleep over your wallet. But let's put the billionaire beef aside for a second and look at the actual hardware, because we need to talk about why the Steam Deck is now $790 as an investment. We need to talk about the AI-fueled RAM shortage. And here is where Valve's specific business model actually works against them. Valve is a software giant. Steam prints money. But in the hardware manufacturing space, they are relatively a small fish. They do not have the economics or skill of manufacturing that Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo have. When Sony needs memory for the PlayStation, they order tens of millions of units on the year in advance. And like Nintendo, they have a massive supply chain leverage because they know they will go through that number. Valve doesn't have that kind of pricing power, which brings us to the $790 Steam Deck. It's disrupting Valve's entire pipeline. According to a report from Kotaku, my favorite Kotaku editor, Ethan Gatch, Valve insider Brad Lynch recently noted that Valve's actually confirmed to Polygon that they are pushing the release of the new Steam controller earlier, specifically due to RAM sourcing issues for their other products. Think about that. They are shuffling their entire hardware roadmap and releasing peripherals early because they literally cannot afford the silicon to manufacture the big stuff right now, which perfectly and tragically leads us to the biggest casualty in this entire mess. Is the Steam machine dead on arrival? Brad Lynch dropped a massive reality check on the timeline this week. He tweeted, "Back when I was told a figure for what Valve's estimated price that they'd have to set the starting point of the Steam machine, it was still higher than today's Steam Deck prices." And that was 2 months ago. Well, guys and gals, let's do the math for that for a second. If the baseline Steam machine was already targeting a price higher than the new $790 Steam Deck before the latest RAM price hikes, yeah, we are looking easily at a starting price point of $1,000 or more for the Steam Deck. So where does this leave us? The Steam Deck is transitioning from the everyman's handheld to an enthusiast luxury. The Steam machine might be $1,000 pipe dream. And the PlayStation 6, let's not even talk about that. But I do want to hear from you guys down in the comments. What is your absolute hard limit? Is the new Steam machine launching at $1,000, and are you buying it? Are you finally tapping out to the retreating console war and making the Switch 2 look like a good option? If you appreciate the no BS breakdown, do me a favor, hit that like button, hype the video. It tells the algorithm that we're doing something right, and it helps the channel become, I don't know, alive, so I don't have to start my own awesome people list. But sure, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming deep dives into the Zen 6 architecture leaks. Always a pleasure, guys. This is Star Flag Media Gaming, news for gamers who grew up when games were actually games, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace!